So there you have it, guys. Pretty much the life cycle of a paver. It's amazing. It starts out in just some aggregate, and it turns up into a beautiful paver. It could be a 6x9, 4x6, whatever it is. Here he's taking some product off the belt. Check out all their inventory. And this is only one of their facilities. Today, I get to give you guys a special treat, Cambridge plant tour. We sell Cambridge Pavingstones, and they are manufactured in New Jersey. The guy I'm going down with, the guy I'm taking down, is a coworker of mine. He is our purchaser, so he puts in a lot of the purchase orders for these pavers that we order. And like I showed you guys, he's come in pallets, about 100 square feet per pallet. And we're gonna go check it out. We're gonna go see how they're made and how they're produced and kind of some of the processes. So come on, let's go. This is like 4 o'clock in the morning. We're gonna make a quick trip down and hoping to be down there about 9 o'clock, 5 hours. Here we are at Cambridge Pavingstones facility in Perth Amboy, New Jersey. Welcome back to Sensenig's Landscape Supply. My name is Justin. Today we're going to get a tour of this plant, watching them make pavers. Many of you know at Sensenig's Landscape Supply we sell hardscapes, we sell many different types of paving stones, and this is just a little look into how they're processed, how they're produced, how they're made. And I'm also with Charles Gamarikian, and he is going to give us a plant tour. Hi Charles.
How you doing, everyone? My name is Charles Gamarikian Jr. I'm the Vice President of Manufacturing for Cambridge Pavingstones. Right now we're going to start with the plant tour of South Amboy, one of our 5 plants, 3 locations.
So what products are produced at this plant?
Down in South Amboy, you have products mainly our Ledgestone collection, our Ledgestone XL collection, and all of our retaining wall, our Sigma, our Matrix, our Omega, our columns, our kits, all the coping.
What are we going to see being produced today?
Today you're going to see Ledgestone in one of the plants and Ledgestone XL in plant 4. Today is one of the off days where we're not producing retaining wall. Retaining wall we produce in plant 4 about 3 to 4 times a week. Today we're producing pavers.
And we're right here, one of the truck entrances. Is this where all the product comes in and goes out?
So where we're at in the entrance of South Amboy's location, all the outbound trucks come in, truckers get out, they get their tickets, they give it to a yard guy in the yard, they get loaded, they're on their way. Also, every single raw material, cement, color, sand and stone come in through this exit. We take, between cement and aggregate, we take about 100 trucks per day coming into this location for raw material. Wow.
And you got to bring the pallets, I mean everything comes in this way. And then it comes back out again.
Yes, yes. We have, we think, a pretty good logistic setup where trucks come in through the entrance gate, they wrap around the building, and we have an exit gate on the other side to make sure with the 50 trucks of outbound, the 100 trucks of raw materials coming in, there's no congestion.
Let's go check out where Ledgestone is getting made.
Okay, we just spoke about the entrance of Cambridge and South Amboy where all the raw material trucks come in on a daily basis, somewhere up to 100 trucks. If you see behind me, this is where we store all our raw materials. Our raw materials are all NYSDOT approved. They're all washed materials from limestone, 1/4 inch, granite, paver sand, silica sand. These are all washed materials. Every day trucks come in, we take samples, we QC them, we do our own sieve analysis. As you can see, we keep these bins pretty full, but the segregation of each bin allows for us not to have any contamination in our mixes from batch to batch. It's a pretty clean setup.
Pretty much regular sand.
This is regular silica C33 concrete sand. No dust, it's clean, strong material. We get that from South Jersey. So you have this C33 sand.
What's the largest aggregate in your paver?
Largest aggregate we have. It's kind of equal of sand to stone in the base of the paver. And that base of the paver is made up of granite, grits, and limestone 1/4 inch.
So here,
Also washed.
here's a little idea. It's fairly small.
That's what we call number 9s or 2x4 millimeter grits. And this is a 1/4 inch blend. So you have a limestone 1/4 inch blend, a granite grits, a limestone C33, a silica South Jersey yellow C33. Those aggregates make up the base, the strength of the stone.
So they're all out in these bins.
Yep.
What's the next process?
The next process is we have in this plant we have incline conveyors, radial stackers, and a flex wall belt.
So that big conveyor up there
Yep.
takes the raw material, and then same way for that plant, takes the raw material up.
Correct. And you know, some concrete plants have what they're called grizzlies over the hoppers, where trucks can just back up over and dump. To avoid any confusion or contamination, we rather have the aggregate in the bins, and we use our bucket loaders. Those guys know exactly what bin, what's running, where to put it. They'll come over, they'll scoop the sand, bring it up to the hoppers, which will feed the plant. While we're also out here, you're gonna notice the amount of cement tankers we keep on site at all times, 24/7. We have enough cement.
Those are loaded?
Those are loaded. We have white cement and gray cement, both on site at all times. You have another, I think 5 or 6 tankers down there on top of 7, 12. We keep about 18 to 20 tankers here at all times. If there's any kind of shortage or any kind of issue, we have enough aggregate and cement to run for a whole week straight without depending on one of our vendors if there's an issue.
Gotcha.
And that's at every location.
That's great. All right, guys, so now into plant 4.
All right, guys, we were in front of plant 3 before, where we were making ledgestone tall Onyx light. We hit the aggregate bins and where the cement is. We're gonna head inside plant 4, our premier plant at Cambridge Pavers, which we built 3 years ago. It's the largest concrete plant in the country for a number of reasons. The capacity of aggregate and cement, and the output from the wet side and the dry side packaging line. Today we're producing XL bluestone blend in plant 4. We're gonna take a walk around and show you guys the process after you get the raw materials in the conveyor, in the plant, in the hoppers, everything after that. So we saw where the aggregate comes in the plants on those large conveyors feeding the input of raw materials into the plant. Right now we're on the base floor of the aggregate bins. You can see behind me you have 2 sides of the aggregate bins. We call one side the base side for the base mix, the coarse material, and on this other side you have the face side predominantly for the armor tech of the pavers that has your finer materials. The sand is housed inside these aggregate bins. Each bin holds 200 tons of aggregate. You can see right now we're dosing for a mix design. We start a job to make sure it hits the tolerance that's called for. And that will come within 5 to 10 pounds of the mix design to ensure we have a quality mix from mix to mix.
I don't know if you guys can see way up there. These bins are huge. Like he was saying, 200 tons per. So right here, this bin, double bin, is 400 tons. Here's a better shot of those aggregate bins.
Guys, where we're at now is we call the color mezzanine. What Justin was just showing, the color stacks of pigment that we use to make the colors in our Pavingstones and retaining wall. Our colors are based on reds, yellows, blacks, green, blue, and a titanium white. As you can see up here, this is not our warehouse, but we keep enough color, just like we keep enough raw aggregates, to last about a month in case there's a shortage on color or there's an issue on color. Again, When you see our parts room, our raw materials, everything we do, we want to keep more on the ground so we can keep running so there's no issues with downtime. Color mezzanine is not just called the color mezzanine because it holds the color bag. Behind me, you see the color machines, what are called granumats. These two machines are what's needed to ensure from batch to batch we keep a great color consistency, whatever color we're making that day. We don't want to have variations in our color blends. And this machinery weighs out to the thousandth of a pound, plus or minus, to make sure we're hitting that consistency every day. Where we're at right now is underneath the two face mixers that make the Armortech. One thing you're going to notice behind me are all the hoppers sitting on top of a mud belt. You'll see that there's 6 hoppers. That allows us to make 6 color blends. One of the only companies in the country who can do that. Aside from having those 6 color blends, on each hopper we have a pneumatic gate system that allows us to distribute that blend any way we want, which I'll show you right now. We're making bluestone blend right now. As you can see, you have your green and your blue on the belt. These colors are distributed through these hoppers on these small feeder belts. You'll see the 3 gates under each hopper. I can lift up any one of those gates as small or as large as I want to maintain the color blend I'm looking for that product. Here you have the face mix, the color blend of the top 3/8 of an inch. Our Armortech feeding into the machine, getting ready to be made into a paver. Right now we're on the mixer mezzanine. On this mezzanine you have your 2 base mixers. These are your larger mixers. Each mixer holds a mix of 10,000 pounds approximately per mix. You saw the color mezzanine, you saw the cement, you saw the aggregate. This is where everything comes together to form a mix to make your paver or retaining wall. If you look above on the mixer, to the left, right here where you're pointing at, that's a color cyclone. So once the color gets weighed out, it gets blown to this cyclone and it's held until the mixer calls for the color. Over here to your right, that's your cement hopper. So your cement takes, screws cement into this hopper using an auger, and that cement is actually weighed on a load cell on that hopper and then released when it's called. Behind the mixer, you can see on this second mixer, that's the skip hoist. That skip hoist brings the sand and the stone up to the mixer again and feeds the mixer when the aggregate's called. Right now we're on the Armortech, the base mixer mezzanine. You'll notice the 2 mixers are a lot smaller. They're about a 1,200 to 1,500 pound mix each compared to the 10,000 pound mix down on the base mixer. The reason why the mixers are so small, while we have 2 of them, gives you the opportunity to do 6 color blends, number 1, and more importantly, it allows you to flip over fresh concrete more often so your concrete doesn't dry out.
More consistency that way.
Absolutely, more consistency, better moisture, better control, makes it a lot easier to make quality pavers, and a lot easier for our operators to control those QC functions.
You sure you want your competition to hear this?
Fine, that's fine. I can say, up until about 5 years ago, 90% of this country only produced base mix pavers, no face mix. My father's been producing Armortech base mix for 25 years. We got nothing to hide. Right now we're looking at what we call the dry side or packaging line of the plant. I said before, the batching and the aggregate storage makes us one of the largest plants in North America actually. The second aspect is the fact that you see 4 packaging lines. You see in this shot, you have 3 splitting lines. Splitting line the wall, you have splitting line 3. So we have 4 packaging lines coming off of one machine in this plant. Right now we're looking at the cement silos where we showed you the tankers outside. We have 3 silos in here. Each silo can hold 200 tons of cement. So we have 600, aside from the trucks outside, we have 600 tons of cement in the building at all times. The silos are half in the building, half outside the building. They reach about 80 feet up above the building. Guys, right behind me is our admix station. It's a state-of-the-art pumping station that controls our admix usage and dosage per mix. We've partnered up with Sika. Sika has been with us now for over 10 years. We attribute our success to the past decade of a lack of efflorescence control. I know everyone gets efflorescence. I know we're not perfect with it, but since we've been with Sika, we've seen a huge reduction in effluent over the years. Guys, we stepped out for a second from looking at the batching. Now we're at the point where we're on the wet side, the production side of the plant. What you're seeing in this process of the 16-second cycle, you're seeing the base mix feed box come over the mold and fill the cells of the mold. While it's filling the mold, you're gonna hear vibration. That's that table vibrating and shaking, making sure that concrete is compacting in those cells to give a nice, tight, high-dense stone. After that base mix is done, it's gonna pull back. Then you're gonna see the tamper head come down and make room for your armor tech. It's gonna make 3/8 of an inch room. Then your face feed box is gonna come over the same top of the mold. It's gonna put the armor tech on. Face feed box is coming back. Then your tamper head that makes the imprint of the stone, whether it's XL smooth or XL textured or ledge stone. Today we're doing XL smooth. That tamper head shoe makes that imprint at the same time pushing that stone and vibrating, giving it strength. What you're looking at right now is our laser height machine. Every layer that goes by, the laser shoots and checks the height for every stone that comes out. Right now what you're looking at is called an automatic finger car. It's a giant robot. You just saw the material coming out of the wet side PS1000 machine. This car takes it from an elevator and puts it into a curing rack where the product will cure for 16 to 24 hours depending on the weather outside. We do not have to cure paving stones. They cure on ambient temperature. You'll notice on the curing rack you have garage doors at top. When we're making retaining wall, those doors will come down and shut, and we'll put a specific humidity and a specific temperature in that room to cure retaining wall before it's split. This is known as the curing kiln. This curing chamber holds 6,000 steel pallets or production boards. That's 600 cubes. It's about, depending on what product you're making XL today, close to 70,000 square feet. Guys, where we're at now, we saw before from the top mezzanine, we're on the dry side, the packaging side of the plant. Behind me, you have your 4 packaging lines. As I said before, 3 wall splitters and 1 paver line. This way, behind me, you see the splitters. Those splitters are responsible for your matrix, your sigma, your omega, all your columns, your caps. You have 3 of those lines. The center slack conveyor, which you see moving right now, that's responsible for all your paving stones, your Old English, your bullnose coping. So we have your wall lines and your pavers lines. After the paver and the walls go down the line, they hit one of 2 processes. They either get steel banded, which you can see right now. You have 2 vertical strapping steel heads, and you have a horizontal steel head. All pavers get strapped with steel banding. All wall goes towards the end of the conveyor and gets a stretch strap put on. saw the batching, the mixers, the aggregate hoppers, the outside raw materials. We saw the wet side where the stones are produced. We saw the curing chamber, the kiln. We just got done with the dry side. The final step of the process, after this cube is packaged, it comes out on this conveyor. Those cubes will be taken off by a forklift. They'll be put in the inventory yard. Next stop is on a flatbed and to Sensenig's yard for you guys.
All right, guys, one last stop here. I want to show you outside yet. This is again the aggregate bin area, and you can see all these different bins, different products in, and then here is the finished product. So all these products, the mixtures produce this. All right, guys, we are inside. We had an awesome tour. I thought it was very interesting to see how the cycle of a paver is, and I actually have a broken paver here, and I want Charles to explain a little bit of what this paver is and what makes it so unique. First off, Charles, tell us your role here in the company.
I'm Charles Gamarican Jr. I am the Vice President of Manufacturing for Cambridge Pavingstones. Me and my twin brother Chris have been working at Cambridge since a very early age, learning every aspect of the company, from the yard to manufacturing, inside sales, dispatch, to our current roles today. My responsibilities are overseeing everything to do with manufacturing, quality control, quality assurance, R&D, day-to-day operations. We have a production team that consists of approximately 10 managers and about 200 employees in production only. That does not include yard and logistics and inventory control.
We're going to go over and see Chris.
Correct.
And Chris is at another plant?
Chris is at our headquarters in Lyndhurst, New Jersey. We are at the South Amboy facility, as we said before. Our other facility is down in Lakewood, New Jersey. And we also have a wall plant out in Pennsylvania. Right now we have 7 machines running 24/7.
Yeah. How many machines are at this location right here?
This location, you have 2 machines in South Amboy, 2 big board machines. Up in Lyndhurst, which Justin will be, you will be visiting next, has 3 machines, 2 multi-layers and 1 board machine. The plant down in Lakewood, New Jersey, which we acquired in 2020, we reference as the Clayton facility, that has 1 board machine, and we are currently designing a brand new plant for that location. And then we have a block machine out in Satterton, Pennsylvania.
So you hear a lot about Cambridge Pavingstone, the ArmorTech finish. That's been their staple, ArmorTech. And I have this paver here, and can you tell people what makes the ArmorTech finish? What is ArmorTech? Maybe explain that process. We saw that kind of a 2-step process of this in manufacturing, maybe the benefits of ArmorTech and some of those things.
So what you're looking at that Justin's holding is a Cambridge Pavingstone with ArmorTech, specifically an RT6x9. You're looking at a stone broken in half to show you the matrix of the stone. You'll notice the bottom 2 inches of the stone, the lighter gray area, that holds all the cement, the sand, and the large aggregate, your 1/4 inch, your grits. That part of the stone gives you its strength. When we talk about average industry PSI, the average stone in this industry ranges between 8,000 and 8,500 PSI. Our mix design, we test out at about 12,000, 12,500 PSI. And that's because of this matrix, the density of that stone, the aggregates we use, the sand we use. You see the defining line in that stone where you go from light gray to your onyx finish on the top 3/8 or 10 millimeters of that stone. That's your ArmorTech, your hard facing, your face mix. That mix, as you can see, has no large aggregate in it. It's a very, very fine granite sand that's made to our engineered spec. Only ones who have that spec in our industry. We designed this sieve analysis with our quarry vendor about 25 years ago. You take that sand, you add a very high cementitious cement value percentage to that sand, and you add a high percentage of color to give you that nice, vibrant, dark, fine ArmorTech face mix. What happens is when you have a stone that doesn't have this face mix and it has just a large aggregate, that surface polishes over time. You're not losing concrete, but it polishes. And when it polishes, those fine cement particles are going to rub off these large aggregates. So sometimes you see old sidewalks in a town that were installed 10, 15 years ago. You're going to barely see any of those reds and black colors anymore. You're going to see large aggregate coming to the face. As you can see with the face mix, the ArmorTech, it's impossible for that polishing of that large aggregate. That sand is so fine and so dense, the polishing just makes that surface smoother over time, almost like a tile.
So this base is under every paver?
Every paver.
And then
every paver we make has ArmorTech face mix. It has the same mix design, the base, the bottom 2 inches, and the 3/8 of an inch of face mix on top.
And this ArmorTech holds up winters. I mean, we're in New Jersey, and we've been selling it quite a bit in New York, and so far it's been very good.
So we are one of the only manufacturers in the country. NYSDOT, New York State Department of Transportation, is one of the hardest regulations and associations to pass their testing protocols for acceptable 60 millimeter and 80 millimeter 3-inch or 2 3/8 pavers for residential or vehicular traffic. Most companies who are NYSDOT approved, they have to have specific lots that they're assigned for approved pavers. Every paving stone that Cambridge Pavers manufacture are NYSDOT approved. We use the same mix design for a backyard patio as if we were doing it for an airport or New York City sidewalk or street. So being NYSDOT approved, why I bring that up, New York, cold, freeze thaw, there are different levels of freeze thaw testing. The most crucial freeze thaw testing for that top half of our country into Canada, we pass. And that's why everything we make is NYSDOT approved.
So Charles, you've been pretty free about the whole plant process and how face mix, how you produce these pavers. There's no secrets, or do you want everyone to make face mix product? Or
we would love everyone to make face mix product, their own type of ArmorTech. We want this system as a whole to be adopted by engineers and architects for cityscape projects, for residential projects. We believe in the system, and we believe if you do it right, aesthetically do it right, that more people are going to accept this type of pavement. We have nothing to hide. We know through our mix designs, how we train our operators. We know what we're doing. We know that we do it right. We have competitors come into our plants all the time. I won't name them, but we have competitors on the East Coast in our own market who have come in toward our plants, seen what we do. Again, we have nothing to hide. We want everyone, for the growth of this industry, to be making the best product they can.
That's great. And competition is good, though. It makes you double check yourself, and yeah.
Competition's always good. Good competition is good. As long as people are out there selling quality material, that's good for the entire industry.
What are some of the challenges you faced, say, in the last 5 years, and then maybe comparing them to the challenges, in the next 5 years? Where do you see, some of the trends going? I know it's maybe a broad question, but maybe just say as a plant and in your role in Cambridge here, what are some of the challenges you faced in the past 5 years?
I guess one of the things, you bring up competition, we have always strived to be the most innovative company in manufacturing concrete paving stones and retaining wall. Last 5 years, a lot of other companies in the industry, specifically in our market, decided to do face mix after not doing it for the last 20 years when Cambridge was one of the only companies doing it. We always had that upper hand offering that aesthetically better paver. Whether it be colors or new shapes, that challenge of just reinventing yourself every year to be the best, that on top of the growth of making the acquisition down here in South Amboy and the acquisition in Lakewood, making sure your plants are staffed, making sure you have enough people, making sure that everyone's on the same page quality-wise, safety-wise. That's always the biggest challenge as you're growing and competing, making sure your team is safe, making sure you're making quality product, and making sure you're staying ahead of the competition. And I think that we're hitting all three aspects very well.
That's awesome. What do you think, looking ahead, some of the challenges? Do you think this there's been a crazy demand for product. Do you think that's going to continue for the next 5 years or 10 years? Or how do you feel about that?
I don't think, and maybe other aspects of what's going on since COVID, other bubbles will pop. I don't believe this industry, the concrete, the hardscape, and the outdoor living, I believe I know it's been growing every year since 2008 at a steady pace. What we've seen in the last 2 years since COVID started has been astronomical growth. And I think people have realized they really do want to entertain in their backyards. They really do want to reinvest in their backyards. They don't always need to go away on a vacation every summer. They can do it at their own house. With that being said, and when you measure the barometer of the United States, where we're at per square foot per capita versus where they are in Europe, we're still in its infancy. We have nowhere to go but up. So I don't see this being a blip. Do I think things might slow down a little bit when we get this whole thing under control as a country? Yes. But for us, for our industry, for what we're doing, I see nothing but upwards growth.
That's awesome. It's exciting.
Yes. You know what? It's the greatest thing to know. Every day you're waking up, you have the challenge, you want to make sure you can support your customers, you want to make sure those machines are running, you want to make sure you have quality material going out. Every day is an adventure. We love what we do. It's in our blood. We're I don't want to say we're blockheads, but concrete is our life. What you saw outside in the plant, the material coming out of the machine and on the layer, on that steel pallet, that's great. We love seeing it. We're watching it 24 hours a day. But what you guys bring to the table, when we see pictures of what your customers are putting in someone's backyard or driveway, that brings what we do to life, and it makes all the difference. That's what we strive for every day.
That's awesome. And you might consider yourself blockheads down here. At Sensenig, we say we tell people to come get stoned.
That's good. I'm going to use that.
Yeah.
I'm going to use that.
So, all right. Well, thanks a lot. Anything else you want to add?
No, just that.
This has been a great tour, guys. And you do open it up to other contractors. Say in the wintertime, maybe come down and check
Absolutely.
it out.
Open invitation to anyone. There is nothing like showing somebody what you do, what you put all your blood, sweat, and tears into day after day. Again, stuff might get out. Bad quality might get out. For someone to come here and see what we do and how hard we work, they're going to understand the process. They're going to understand what we do. And we stand behind everything. And it means the world that you came down today and you shared this day with us and with Cambridge.
Thank you, Charles, for taking us on that tour.
Appreciate it.